Well, first you could say, okay, they are paying a commission now and the synthetic agent is making a profit, so surely Lemonade will be making less profit because they are ceding some of the income to the synthetic agent. But it turns out, even though that is true in dollar amount, it's not really true in percentage amount.
Hey everyone, today's video is going to be brought to you by Domain. You can find him on Twitter at DomainVDE. I definitely recommend following him. He's a great guy. We've been working on some Lemonade modeling, him and I together. But he also put out this thread the other day, and it was a really interesting thread. He had a number of mathematical proofs, and in this video, he's going to break down each of these proofs. So if you're interested in that, you can actually understand what he's talking about. And I think you should be interested in that because he really shows mathematically a number of the values or ratios that Daniel and other Lemonade management has given, mathematically proves them and shows them, and including one I don't think we have explicitly heard from management before, is that a $1 or say $100 of customer acquisition spend leads to $300 in premium. You spend $1 on acquiring a customer and you'll probably get about $3 in premium. Of course, this number I'm sure fluctuates over time. It could get better, it could get worse in the future. It's a really interesting number that we can then model around, and he uses that because they told us it takes 24 months to earn back your initial customer acquisition. So based on that approximate timeline, he's able to calculate that, and he's going to break all that down for you, along with these other even gets more confusing math equations here, where he shows they get about over 50% IRR. Also, there's about a 27-month payback period, 9-quarter payback period for these to pay back the synthetics agents if they receive a 16% IRR, and also for that money then that Lemonade is spending on the balance that they're spending on their customer acquisition, he gets about 100 or about 90% or more than 90%, more like 100% he calculates, but it's very, very sensitive of IRR for Lemonade. And then also finds the lifetime value divided by CAC is over 3. He's going to explain all this, and I definitely recommend watching and trying to understand this because it gives you greater confidence in how we can model the Lemonade case and even understanding how these synthetic agents are working. But without further ado, I'll pass it back to Domain and he can explain all his calculations for you.
Hi guys, this is Damien here, coming to you from Belgium. And even though Lemonade is not in Belgium yet, I'm definitely passionate about the company, and today I would like to walk you through some of the calculations that we were able to do since the recent blog post where Lemonade introduced their synthetic agent program. And in this blog post there's a lot of figures cited, a lot of numbers given that allowed us to perform some calculations. So today I would like to walk you through them, especially proving that their marketing efficiency is really quite good. And we will see that $1 of marketing spend that they put out returns some $3 in new premium. So $1 in advertising costs lets newcomers into Lemonade, and they pay around $3 in initial annual premium. So let's walk through it and see how we got to that number. At first, let's look at this sentence here in their blog post. It takes Lemonade 24 months to earn back their initial customer acquisition costs, and in the meantime that money is spoken for. So that's basically the problem they're trying to solve here today with this synthetic agent program. But let's take this number of 24 months and see what this means for their marketing efficiency, right? So this is the calculation that we did. So what does this all mean? Okay, so here this first minus 100, this is basically their marketing spend. So we're assuming that they are spending $1 of marketing, spending $1 in ads and stuff like that to get new customers. And those new customers, they pay an initial premium of X dollars, right? We don't know yet how much, that's what we're trying to calculate here. And if everything goes well, then after 2 years, so 24 months, but we are starting here at month 0, so we have to go up to 23. In that period of time, we should get back our initial marketing spend, right? So how much do we get back? Okay, so if the customer pays an annual premium of X dollars, that means each month they pay X divided by $12. But that's only initially, right? It's possible that the customers churn after this or during this time, or it's also possible that they will be increasing their spend, right? They will be cross-sold or upsold some additional products. So let's see what this means. This 0.87, that's what's called the annual dollar retention rate. And in the last financial results that LMND published, it was 0.87, right? 87%, which means that when a customer joins LMND, 1 year later, they will on average still be spending 87% of what they were spending initially, right? So that sounds a bit weird because how can you lower your premium? But it's an average, right? So it's the average of customers churning, but also customers increasing their policy values. So on average, annual dollar retention is 87% per year. But we are calculating in months here. So that's why we do this to the power of 1 divided by 12 to get sort of a monthly dollar retention rate. And then we do this to the power I, and I is then the number of the month that we are in. So depending on which month we are, the customers will have, premium will have fallen more drastically or maybe only a little shortly after they start being a customer. Okay, so that's basically the annual dollar retention figure taken into account. And then this here, this 0.19, well, that's basically 1 minus the loss ratio. So the loss ratio currently stands at 81%. So 1 minus 81% gives us 19%. So that's here the 0.19. And so when summing this all up, you get sort of the premium sum that all customers or that those new customers have been paying during the first 2 years, and that should equal 100. So together with this minus 100 here, you end up with 0. Okay, so that's what we are trying to get at here. Okay, when calculating this, we find that X is 300. Okay, so $300, that's the premium value of those new customers that came to LMND by LMND spending $100 in advertising. So that's quite a lot, right? You spend $100 and in advertising, customers pay you $300 in premium initially. And that figure has never been publicly disclosed by LMND before, right? But now we've been able to calculate it, and this allows us to also check a lot of other numbers given in the blog post. For example, here they say that currently the lifetime value divided by customer acquisition cost stands at greater than 3. Right? So the lifetime value, that's basically all the money that LMND makes from one single customer during the lifetime of this customer. Right? So not just all the premiums, but taking into account the loss ratio and the annual dollar retention, etc. So LTV divided by CAC stands at greater than 3. Okay, so let's see if this is indeed the case. So this is the calculation we performed this time. So in the numerator, we have a sum. And this again is a sum over months. And it takes into account all the profit made or all the money LMND makes from this customer. Starting at time 0, month 0, right? The first month that the customer joins LMND, and we go up to infinity. Now, of course, the customer is not going to live forever, but that doesn't really matter because this sum converges after a number of years. So it's still realistic because this number here is smaller than 1. The sum converges after a while, so the customer doesn't have to live forever, and this is indeed a good way to calculate it. So what else is here? We have again the $300 in annual premium that we just calculated before, divided by 12 to get it to a monthly rate. And then we have 1 minus the 81%. 81% was the loss ratio, so 19% is left over, right? 81% of premiums is paid out in claims, so 19% is left over for Lemonade. And then we also take in the dollar retention into account. This was the annual dollar retention. The 12 here makes it so that it becomes a monthly dollar retention. And then to the power of I, because we are summing over the months, and I stands for the month we are in. And then I added this factor here, which takes into account, here, the time value of money. So I've basically built into this equation that money loses its value over time, right? And it devalues at 4% each year. So that's basically inflation, right? Or you can also compare it to the risk-free rate, etc. But basically, $1 in the future is worth less than $1 today, because we expect like prices to rise, or otherwise said, we could invest our money into a bond or something like that that gives us 4% interest. So basically, we take this into account here, like they did in the blog post, right? They said that taking account of the time value of money, or maybe they didn't say that here, but in any case, that's how they normally calculate it. So basically, the numerator is how much money Lemonade will gather from this customer over his or her lifetime on average. And then in the numerator, or in the denominator, English, not my first language, sometimes I'm confused. So here on the bottom, we divide by 100. That's the initial marketing spend, right? We're dividing lifetime value by customer acquisition cost. So that's why we put the 100 here at the bottom. And when we calculate this, we get 3.217, etc. So this is great. This is indeed greater than 3, like mentioned in the blog post. So another confirmation that this 300 number that we calculated before is indeed the right one. Okay, up next. Here we are looking at the internal rate of return of Lemonade's marketing spend. So if they spend the $100 in customer acquisition costs, we expect them to get that back and make a profit on it over time. And what they're saying here is that they are making basically 50% profit on it each year, right? It's an internal rate of return. This is a yearly rate. So apparently every dollar that Lemonade spends in customer acquisition cost gives them a profit over time, and that profit turns out to be 50% each year. So that's quite impressive. So let's see if that makes sense, right? Okay, so that's what we are calculating here. So here we are putting the $100 spent in advertising by Lemonade. And then here we are again summing over an infinite amount of months, but it converges after a number of years to see what's the dollar amount that Lemonade gets back from this customer in total. So again, we put here the 300 yearly premium divided by 12 to get a monthly premium. We take into account their loss ratio, and we are just assuming loss ratio to stay constant. So the current loss ratio of 81%, we're assuming that will remain the case until forever, basically. And then we have here the annual dollar retention, and then convert it to a monthly dollar retention, again to the power of I, to take into account how much basically churn and upselling and cross-selling there is every month. Then we're again adjusting for the time value of money, right? 4% each year the money is basically devalued. And then we are here putting in this term with the X, where the X stands for their annual rate of return, right? So this figure, this X should be 0.5 if this sentence here is correct. And let's see if we calculate it. Let's see what we get. Wow, we get exactly 0.5, right? Almost exactly. It's really amazing how things work out here. So again, confirmation that this 300 number is indeed the correct one. Every $100 in advertising spent gives them $300 in initial annual premium from the new customers. Okay, next up. Here in the blog post, Lemonade says that the synthetic agent will be paid back, right? They will be paid back by commissions from these new customers that are coming to Lemonade due to the advertising done with the financing from the synthetic agent. And they say here that after approximately 2 to 3 years, the synthetic agent will be paid back, right? They will have recouped the money that they put in, and they will also have made a profit on it, and the profit is 16% yearly return. Okay, so Lemonade will have to pay commissions from the premiums that these new customers are providing, and after a while these commissions will stop. When will they stop? Okay, when they total the initial spend from the synthetic agent plus a fixed return of 16% every year. So we don't really know when the commissions will stop. It can vary depending on various factors, but here they are saying, okay, we expect the commissions to stop after 2 to 3 years. That's when we will reach this return for the synthetic agent, and from there on out the customers are solely giving their premiums to Lemonade. Okay, so let's see if we can get to this 2 to 3 year number as well. That's what we have calculated here. So this was the $100 initial marketing spend by Lemonade, but now a portion of that is going to be paid by the synthetic agent. And the synthetic agent, for example, will pay 80% of the this marketing spend. In the blog post, they say up to 80%, and in return, they will get up to 16% commission. And some clarification was given by Daniel on Twitter. These two are directly proportional. So if, for example, the synthetic agent will only pay for 40% of marketing spend, then they will get 8% of commission, right? So let's just assume here they are paying for 80% of marketing spend, then they will get 16% commission. And we will also see that it basically doesn't matter for the payback periods how long it or how much percent of customer acquisition cost they will bear. It turns out it gives the same results for the payback period. Okay, so what do we have here? Here is the total amount paid back to the synthetic agent. So again, we are performing a sum here over months. This is 300, the initial premium paid by the customer, divided by 12 to get the monthly premium. And then there is a 16% commission on that will go to the synthetic agent. Then here we are taking again the annual dollar retention into account, converting it to a monthly dollar retention, and then doing it to the power I to get the retention up to month I. And then here we are dividing by 1.016 to this power. So this basically takes into account that the synthetic agent needs to make a 60% yearly profit, right? So this is the way we are using this IRR that they are mentioning, right? The internal rate of return, so that we can calculate the total. Okay, so if everything goes well, then this X should result in somewhere between 24, or let's say 23, and 35 months, right? Because it should be after approximately 2 to 3 years, so 24 months to 36 months, that the synthetic agent is paid back. However, we are starting at 0, so it's not 24 to 36, it's 23 to 35. So we expect somewhere between 23 and 35. So let's calculate it, and what we find is 25.78 months, right? So almost 26 months, then the synthetic agent will be paid back, and from then all this premium will be paid to Lemonade without commission. So this is almost 7 quarters, right? Then the synthetic agent will be fully paid back. Okay, so what does this mean, right? How does this affect Lemonade's return? Well, first you could say, okay, they are paying a commission now and the synthetic agent is making a profit, so surely Lemonade will be making less profit because they are ceding some of the income to the synthetic agent. But it turns out, even though that is true in dollar amount, it's not really true in percentage amount, right? So Lemonade will now have to spend less dollars to acquire customers because the synthetic agent is providing dollars as well. So when looking at the percentage of profit that Lemonade makes, it will be in fact rising. And in the blog post, they say that it will rise up to 90%. So from the current 50% without the synthetic agent, they should get to 90%. That's really a lot. So let's see if that's a realistic figure. So here is our last equation for today, and it's the biggest one. So let's see what's all in here. At first, we have here the spend done by Lemonade. So it's again $100 we are going to spend on advertising, but now 80% of that is borne by the synthetic agent, so only 20% will be borne by Lemonade. So only $20 basically. And then Lemonade will be making a profit, right? Or they will get the money back, right, from the customers. So during the first 27 months, basically, right, or 26 months, like what we found here. Let's go back a bit here. So 26 almost, but we start at 0. So okay, it's actually 27 months, right? It's around 7 quarters. That's during this time there will be the commission. So this is the premium yearly paid by the customer, divide by 12 to get the monthly premium, and then we are losing some of it, right? There's an 80% loss ratio, so we need 80% of the premium to pay out the claims, and then there's also 16% of the premium going as a commission to the synthetic agent. So not much is left over for Lemonade, and in fact, if they get unlucky and loss ratios spike above 84%, they will actually be spending more money than they get during these first few years. But for now, right, there's still some percentage left over if current loss ratios can remain the same or even lower. Then we are taking again the dollar retention into account, right? Churn and upselling and cross-selling. And then we are dividing by this factor again to account for the time value of money. And then here we are putting in this factor, and this X will then give us the profit, the yearly profit made by Lemonade on their marketing spend. Right? So that's up to month 26 or 27. And from there on out, there will be no more commission. So then if we look at this final factor, it's basically the same, except here there is no longer the 16% being deducted, because all the premiums that are left over after paying out claims, this will be for Lemonade. Okay, so when calculating this, we are trying to solve this for X, right? And we should find something close to 90%. And what do we find? Almost 94%, right? So in extremely good or extremely similar as this 90%, almost 90% figure cited in the blog post. So again, this is confirmation that this 300 is really the right figure, right? This is how much dollar in new premium is coming in when a Lemonade spends $100 in advertising, Lemonade or Lemonade together with the synthetic agent. Right? And this 300 number, or the ratio 1 to 3, really gives us a new building block to build into our Lemonade model. So with that being said, I will hand it over to Paperback to conclude this, and yeah, let's see what we can do with this. Bye.
So thank you to Domeen for that, and it is really powerful, especially this $1 of CAC to $3 of premium. And him and I were working on a model together. It's under my main model under a tab called Cohort Model. If you support my Patreon, you can get full access to this, make your own copies and play with it. And I will be doing another video soon where I walk through some of the more details and implications, takeaways from this cohort model. But it is interesting because if you know that they're getting $1 of CAC is leading to $3 of IFP, and you know maybe what the synthetics agents are spending and the amount that they're spending, then you can really see what the top line from that. You can really see, especially in the next few quarters, maybe 6 quarters, where we know they're going to have synthetic agent effect, then you can really see what the top line growth should be for those 6 quarters based on what that is. At least the minimum. Maybe you could know even more if they spent more dollars outside of the $25 a quarter that the synthetic agents GC is going to spend. So you can really drive a model that way. And we built one that looks at each quarter or cohort of customer quarter over time and how those customers decayed over time and amount of premium they brought in now plus amount of premium they're bringing in the future. So you can get kind of you can see the gross income they're going to be bringing in now plus the future into the future. And again, I'll be looking at this model. There is a video up on my Patreon already that looks at it a little bit, sort of a rough unedited video, but I'll be doing something a little more polished, showing you some of those results soon. So thanks again to Domeen. Definitely recommend giving him a follow on Twitter. Remember, it's in the bag.